Okay, guys. So here we are. We tried to do a live stream today, but we couldn't figure it out. So anyway, just pre-recording. So I'm here. It's March 11th, 2019. This is Gavin. I'm just with Mahmoud and Arnie. We're just here at the TMZ working on Gladiotron. So we're gonna try to push through on a proof of concept that we're making for an online interactive webcomic as an intro to the universe of Gladiotron. So we'll just continue with that. So where we left off last time was with this simple mock-up like of a desert world scene. So you can see here on the bottom right, this was a concept that we created a couple weeks ago. And then we did a rough approximation of that in 3D here in Blender. And then now what we're going to do is bring this into Unreal and explore adding some interactivity and then doing a test to see if we can export this as a WebGL file that we can then embed into the web page. And if we can do that, then we're in good shape for creating a simple interactive online comic. Okay, so it's a few steps, stuff that I've never done before, none of us have done before, but we'll stumble through the process a little bit. All right, so here we go. All right, so I want to take this geometry and in edit mode or in object mode, just select everything, and I want to export it. So file, export. Sorry, my Discord is going. Let me just respond to that quickly. All right, so we're here, and yeah, so I just want to export this. So file with the selected export FBX, and if I did a render actually, I remember that's what we had done. We just did a quick approximation of like of what it would look like rendered. I'm a little bit new to the interface in 2.8 version of Blender, but if I remember correctly, yeah, we just played with the lighting a little bit until we got something approximately like what we wanted. The only challenge is because we set up the lighting here in Blender, it's not going to translate to Unreal. So I'll have to basically set it up again in there. So let's do that now. The other thing I added is like some set dressing stuff, which also would be good to have once I do get into Unreal, but we can potentially add that later if need be. Okay, so let us do that. Again, click this, and I had a little character in here. I won't recreate the character, I can always do that in Unreal. So File, Export FBX. I'll call it Desert World, I'll leave it in this folder that I have here, Export. And let's go ahead and open up Unreal. So lately, as part of the process, I've been studying a little bit of blueprints and a little bit more C++. So my background is definitely not coding, but I've been working through it so that I can try to get a better understanding how to build this thing out. So I'm right now being confronted with a choice: should I open Gladiotron, the existing project, or should I start a brand new project? I'll just open a brand new project, keep things nice and simple, and go from there. So I'll go launch on 4.2.1, which is the most recent version. Let's wait for that to load. And when I load this, I'm going to open up a C++ project. Again, please forgive me if I stumble through this, but in the attempt to better my understanding of coding in Unreal with C++, and for the benefit of Aaron, who's here as well, I want to kind of look at what that looks like and possibly explain a little bit. Okay, so I have. It's on another screen here. Okay. So I'm going to go for a new project. By default, it's giving me a blueprint project. I'm going to go for a new C++ project. And I'm going to look at the options here. For me, I always like doing things from scratch. So instead of using something that already exists, might as well just go with a basic code project and just see what happens. I'll turn off starter content as well, so I'm going to start with absolutely nothing. I'll call this Gladiotron Desert. Okay. Desert. Okay, it's too long. So just call it Gladiotron Desert. Okay. Or I'll call it Gladiotron Comic. And as they go forward with this, I can probably just keep populating it with new stuff. I'll put this in a location where it will automatically update. So I'll put it in my Dropbox. Gladiotron. Okay, and go ahead and create project. Okay, this is going to take a while, I think, and it's going to load up Visual Studio as well. And if you're curious, I've been going through on Udemy. There's a course by Ben Tristram, who runs GameDev.tv, which is about creating Unreal projects with C++, learning C++ and Unreal together, which has been actually really nice. They go through things really slowly, and I think I've gotten about halfway through that, and I think I'm ready to move to something a little more complex, which is another course by Tom Lumen, who goes into making projects with Unreal using C++, but it's multiplayer projects. Okay, so we're waiting here, waiting. I don't know how long this is going to take. But while I'm waiting, oh, there it goes. As I say, while I'm waiting, I should just create a couple simple assets that I can also bring into the project for ground elements. So I know a little bit about Unreal already, just from kind of getting Gladiotron to where it is currently, and I've taught like real-time rendering in Unreal before, but not a super duper advanced user or anything like that, but I continue to get better. Mahmoud over here, who's not saying anything, he knows it pretty well. And Erin she's good with C++, so I think together, so he's good with coding. So I think together we can kind of work our way through this. Let's see what it's saying here. Project could not be compiled. Would you like to open it in Visual Studio? I'm already running into a problem. And does it make any sense to you? Function code generation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to just, I wonder if it timed out, I don't know. But I'm just going to go ahead and open this with Visual Studio and see what happens. So Visual Studio is opening. Just wondering what's happening here. I have too much stuff open. Okay. All right. So, I don't know if this is correct. So I'm just trying to build a project from here inside Visual Studio, and we'll see what happens. So this is not as interesting as watching somebody create some artwork, I guess. It's very, a lot of waiting. So that's good to know. All right, there are build errors. Would you try? No. Let's see what the build errors are. Okay. So Visual Studio versions 15.7, 15.8 are known to have generation bugs that affect UE4. Please update. So it could just be that. If you want to produce item, DLL. So we'll start with that. Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff going here. I don't know how long that's going to take. Let me go to check for updates. So this is when I'm thinking in my head, maybe I should have just made a blueprints project. But again, I'll persist. Man, this is going to be a 4.8 gigabyte, 4.6 gigabyte download. Let's just do it. So this may not turn out how we had hoped. We may have to revisit this another time. Maybe go for a regular blueprints project for now. From what I understand, there's the difference between making a blueprints project. Oh, it might be, if we're lucky, it might be a quick installation. Let's see. Just getting the installer. So even though this is not a live video, kind of treating it like one. So you get exposed to all this not ideal stuff. Here we go. Yeah. What's going on? Okay, so this is not working right. So what I'm going to do, let's go for a blueprint project. Oh. Say the project already exists. Let's go to projects. Oh, what's wrong one? This one. The following modules are missing or built with a different engine version. Gladiotron comment. Would you like to read them? Build them now. So yes. So let's see, we'll try this one more time. If this doesn't work, we'll probably just go back and maybe generate some new assets. The other option for this, since we're not, this is just for the webcomic, we could always use Unreal, or sorry, Unity as well, or you could look at 3.js to build native native WebGL project. Okay, so this is not working. So I'm hoping that it's just a problem with the version of Visual Studio, but as you can see here, this is going to take a while to finish downloading. So for that reason, I'll leave this downloading in the background, but I'll just change directions for now. So I guess there's two things I could do. I could either do a blueprints project. Let's just do a blueprints project. And I will also delete this project. Okay, so hit launch again. And I suppose I could have also tried a lower version of Unreal with current version of Visual Studio that I had, and maybe that would have worked. But again, I want to kind of go in and figure out what's going on right now. Okay, so here I am. So we'll go for a new project, and I'll go for a blueprint project. Again, I'll make it blank. Same location, I'll give it the same name. Gladiotron comic. Or let's call it chapter 1. Alright. Great project. Okay, I feel like I'm copying out a little bit by doing this, but for the purposes of testing, I think this will do the trick. So this is my blank project. It's not completely blank, obviously. If I press play, let's see what we get. Did I turn off started content? I think so. I didn't have started content turned on, did I? No. I had no started content. So with started content? No. Yeah, I don't see anything in here. So yeah, so let's see. Table. Oh, let's say wall. Yeah, no, there's nothing in here. Let's bring up this. So under content, so yeah, I have nothing. So I'm going to create a new folder in here. We'll call this Geo. This will have all our geometry. And in here, I'll import my asset, which is the FBX file. So Desert World FBX. I'll bring that in.
Try to create a new level that's not going to have any lights.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I should have done that. I can still do that. So the import all. Oh. So what I did by accident is I forgot to. There's a checkbox in Blender when I export to only export the selected object, and I didn't check that on. So it's exported my character and my world here, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. And the other problem is this stuff did not show up in the right place. It's supposed to be in the geo folder. I'm just going to delete it. Just import it in here. Import. Desert World. And recently I've been messing around with Unity a little bit. They have a really nice plugin for the camera called Camera or Cinemachine. And I don't know if anything like that exists in Unreal, but I would love to get similar functionality. Okay, why isn't this working? So click this, open, there we go. Import all, okay, good. We'll go back here. So Mahmood suggested we should make a new folder for levels. So in that folder, just double click and I'll create a new I'm gonna make a new level. Oh, level, very good, there you go. All right, so I'll call this desert world. All right, so I'm just gonna double click on that and save everything. So I'm gonna have a totally empty scene. So I have to put my lights in, I have to put my ground in and everything like that. So what I'm also gonna do up here in settings, I'm just gonna go to my project settings, and that's gonna open on my other screen. I'll bring it over. And I will go to maps and modes, and I'm going to set my editor default to my desert world, and my game default map to my desert world. So here's what I've heard. I don't know if I'm correct or not, but in our settings, our project settings here, I believe that we can change. Where is it? Where is it? I'm trying to remember. All settings? No. Is it maps and modes? Okay. Yeah, so here we have in our default modes, we have game mode base. So by virtue of me creating a blueprint project, my game mode base is a blueprint game mode. If I were to create a C++ project, this would be a C++ game mode. I can always change this. So I can make my own game mode and then basically change it to something else. So I should be able to find it if I turn on this, if I browse for it in here. I might have to turn on there's a way to show more stuff. Let's see. Go to filters, other assets. There is an option here. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think there's an option to show some stuff that's being hidden. Or view options, maybe it's here. Show engine content. This might be. So if we go to engine content, and if I go to this magnifying glass, this should bring me to it. Let's see if there's other view options we can turn on. C++ classes. Turn off engine content. Show developer content. Maybe this is fruitless, so I won't even bother anymore. I'll just make a new folder here. So content. Let's turn off this hidden stuff so I don't break anything. So let me create something here. I'll create a new folder. New folder. And we'll call this blueprints. And I'll make another folder. New folder. I'll call this C++. Can't do spaces. Classes. All right, so what I can do in blueprints, I can right click and I can make a new blueprint class, and then I can make a game mode base. Okay, and this is going to be a blueprint game mode base. So I'll put that in there and I'll call this B for blueprint underscore game mode. All right, save that. And then I'll do another one, just C++ classes. So I like to experiment with what I'm doing, like to see what works and what doesn't work. So I'm partially doing that here. So I'm going to create a new C++ class in here, and I'll make this one a game mode base as well. So my thinking is hopefully if I do this, then this will be like taking this blueprint project, and if I set my game mode to the C++ class, then it'll be like as though I created a C++ project. All right, so I'm going to go here and hit next. Give it a name. I'll call it my game mode base. That's fine. It's going to tell me where it's going to be located. It's fine. Create class. Okay. So I have to recompile my project, it looks like. Which I do. Is it here? Do you remember how to recompile? Right? No? Did you get to that part? Build? Okay. I don't want to build lighting. This because my understanding of Unreal, because I don't use C++ in it until now, is building is for lighting, but maybe it's also for code, but it doesn't look like it. Game mode, select game mode, base class, create game mode base, right click on it. Okay. Anyways, I'll just go with my blueprints. This is my fallback. So if I were to use this, then I can have a custom game mode, and again, I think this would contain all my logic for the actual game. So if I click on this, default scene root, if I click on BP game mode, this is where you can set the main stuff in your project. So which HUD you're going to use, which player you're going to have, like your main player, controller, all that kind of stuff. So you can set that in here. I'll just leave this all as is, and I'll just probably stick with the base game mode that already exists, since I cannot change this to a C++ project at this point. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and start dragging in my assets. So this is what I do understand. This is the easy part for me. I'll drag that in. We won't really be able to see anything because there's no lights in our scene. So I'll have to go in here also and add some lights. So start with a directional light. Just like in Maya, you can click on something and press F to put it into focus. You can right click and kind of, this is a giant scene. I should have zoomed out so far. But we can basically hold down right click and fly through with WASD. Is there a faster way to navigate? Mouse wheel, scroll.
Make sure it's on the location is because it's, you can reset the location from this. Like if you like the cielo.
Oh, right. Yeah, so it's such a massive scene that even resetting the location doesn't make a huge difference. I can always scale my asset down, my scene, but that's okay. Let's leave this as it is. And then I'll also drag in my character here. Set his location as well. Move him a bit. I'll focus on the character like so. And you can see the character's position is offset from the origin, which is not ideal, but we'll live with it for now. Or we can just bring in our own asset from here. You can bring in like a basic cube and transform it.
Maybe Alt right like to zoom in and out quickly.
Alt right click.
Maybe it's just second finger with it.
No.
I'd like to zoom.
Oh, and zoom. Oh, okay.
This could be a little faster.
Yeah, maybe. Cool. All right, so we have this, and I will make it smaller on these two axes and shorter on the vertical axis. And just move it up a little bit. Get rid of this guy. I'll call this cube character for now. And so my lighting is in there, but it's really kind of basic. I probably want to bring in some kind of image, like some kind of dome or something like that as well, because I don't have any like adequate like environmental lighting. I will bring in my lights. I have a skylight, which I can bring in. It doesn't have anything assigned to it by default, and I don't have any, since this is a blank project, I don't have anything to really to work with. That's okay. What else do I want? Go back to my directional lights and play around with this. So I want to have a cool light source. Is it cool? Yeah, I want to have a cool light source. And then the environment here, I'll give this a name. So I'll call this ground, and I'll call this character. Okay, so I'll apply my ground texture to the ground. I'll double click on this to go in so I can edit the actual materials, and for the base color I will just choose like something else. So I want it to have like a warmer kind of base color, and ideally I want to have like a nice, or sorry, I want to have like a, if I remember correctly, I want to have some like the sand to be like bluish purple in color. So we'll go with that, and I'll hit OK, and give it a moment. It's not updating. Why isn't it working? Okay. Save. This is taking way longer than it should. Okay. We're going to tweak some of these other parameters. I don't want the roughness to be super high. So I'm just going to hold down the 1 key on my keyboard and click, and then I'll give me a constant, which is just basically one value. And this is going to basically define how light or dark, or basically how strong this is. So right now the value is set to 0. So basically I'm getting 0 roughness, so I have a very glossy looking object, right? So I want to set a value between 0 and 1. I'll set this to 1 here. We'll set it to like 0.8. So this is a fun part of Unreal, and I'm not doing anything fancy here at all, but the fun part is like setting up materials. It's really, really good and really powerful for this. And I could kind of go down a rabbit hole of doing more of this, but this is the part I know better, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to do the stuff that I don't know how to do yet, which is all the other fun stuff, like the interaction and that kind of, I know how to do a bit. I shouldn't say I don't know how to do it, but yeah. So another thing I want to try to do, and maybe you guys can help with this, is in the name of like getting better as a coder, just do like a mini project per week, like a simple, small, interactive game project per week. This can be a way to test various functionality in the project. And I'm talking to my people here, but if you're watching this video online, by all means, take up this challenge as well, right? I did something like this years ago when I wanted to learn how to paint, digital paint. And I didn't do a painting per week, I did a painting per day, right? And I shared it online every day. I created like a certain amount of accountability for myself, like people were expecting this thing, whether it turned out good or bad. But my purpose was I'm going to just fail and fail and fail until I figure this out and I succeed. And every time I've done something like that to learn something new, it's actually been very, very beneficial. So the challenge with that initially is I don't want to fail publicly, right? I don't like sucking, you know. But in life, I've found, for myself at least, two things really help me to grow. One is teaching something, because when I teach it, then I have to like learn it. And then the second is, accepting that I'm going to suck at it when I start, and just going anyways, right? So um, getting to the point where I feel like I'm not going to try to avoid failure. I'm just going to jump right in and stumble my way forward. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. So thank you, if you are watching, for bearing with me. All right, so we have like 0.6 roughness, okay, so it's fairly rough, but not completely rough, so there'll be a little glossiness on that. You kind of see a little bit of specular highlights happening. Metallic will just leave empty. It'll be set to default by automatically. Emissive color we don't want, normal map we don't have. We're going to go really simple because ultimately this project is supposed to be an online interactive webcomic. I'm going to go for a very simple artistic style, leaning heavily on lighting, local color, and post-processing effects potentially to kind of deliver the message. So I'll show you a quick kind of example of what I'm hoping this will kind of look like. This is just a test, for an earlier test that I did in Sketchfab of like something kind of similar to this, where we basically have like simple geo, and if I play this, sorry, it's kind of loud. But simple geo and a little bit of animation happening and a character moving. And we can kind of change our viewpoint as we go. So this is ultimately the kind of functionality that I would like, but I don't want to have to rely on Sketchfab. Sketchfab is great, but unless I'm willing to pay a lot of money per month, more than I can afford to, I won't be able to get all the functionality that I want. And on top of it, actually, no matter how much I pay, I won't be able to get the functionality that I want. If I wanted something like more interactive, like if I wanted to be able to click on something to play an animation, or do something like that, or move the character around with my finger while the background stays static, I can't do that kind of stuff. And further, again, if I'm not willing to pay tons of money, I cannot get rid of all this markup. There's all this kind of like extra stuff. So I can't get rid of this. I can't have like a clean embed into a page without having all these little buttons and stuff showing up. Okay, and I'm not willing to pay tons of money to get rid of that. It's just not worth it. So I'd rather figure out how to do this using Unity or Unreal or native WebGL. So this is my goal, my task. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so it finished downloading, but it needs a reboot, and I will not do that now. So I will do this after, and hopefully by next week I'll be able to get that going correctly. All right, so back in Unreal, done something super simple, just made a simple blue material. Go ahead and save that, close it. I've applied this to the ground, so it's updated already. We'll do the same thing for the character. I'll just apply this to the character. I think it went on the character. And click on the character here and see what material has been applied to it, and it is the character, so I'm good. So I'm just going to double click on this now and change the settings here. So I want something that will stand out, be more contrast, have some contrast. So I want to make a dark value material, right? So go with this. Uh, yeah, glossiness, probably want to tweak that as well, or the roughness, I should say. So plug in here and adjust this, set this value again, something closer to, let's go for 0.9. So it's really almost fully rough. This is ultra basic stuff in Unreal. If you're not familiar with it though, like this, again, roughness deals with the micro surface quality of my material. So how rough or how smooth is it? And how does light interact with the object? Okay, so if I click off, so now I have my little character standing here. I want to go into my light, my directional light. I want to find out where that is. I'm just going to rotate it. My scene is so big. It's kind of weird. But I like those nice shadow shapes that I'm getting. That's kind of cool. This would be way, way cooler if I had some nice... I have snapping here turned on. I'm going to set the number of degrees to 5 so I can get a little bit less of an extreme change here. So I'm trying to compose here with light. So I want my character to stand out against a lighter ground. Okay, so this, I'm not revealing everything, but I do get a sense that maybe there's a character there sticking out against some kind of interesting backdrop. I'm getting some weird stuff going on in here. I don't know what that is. What is that saying? Preview? Oh, it's preview shadow. So build. So I build my lighting. I'll get something nicer, hopefully. Whoops. Or not. Okay, what's going on here? My light not strong enough? What's going on? Why is this not working? Build. So Unreal requires something that I've kind of forgot about because I haven't done it in a long time. I'll do it. But there's something else at work here. Something's not right. What if I rotated my light too much? No. Strange. So the skylight. Oh, did I over-rotate it? I don't know what's going on. Let's try building this. Do you know what's happening? So I'm going to go here from lit to unlit. Okay, this wireframe maybe? Slightly wireframe. I'll have to figure this out, but this is a directional light. It shouldn't even matter the position, so it's not even like it's underneath the ground or anything. It shouldn't be a factor. Unless it's pointing upwards. Let's see, this is good. No, it looks like it's pointing down. Can I actually rotate it? Yeah, it's definitely pointing down. Very strange. My scene is massive, actually. My scene is really massive, but that shouldn't make a difference either. Let's look at the settings on our light here. Stationary. What if I make it a movable light? Build. That way I don't have to do any baking. Or minimal baking. And let me just Just go back to lit. So that works because it's not being baked. So let's go with a more reasonable value here. So for some reason the light map is falling apart. I don't know why. I did UV unwrap this file. Strange. I'll have to work out what's going on here. Anyways, Mahmoud, if you have an idea, let me know.
Yeah,
Trying to figure it out too.
As far as I know, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
static. Like usually, it's static light as software.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. What I do need to do though, and I haven't done, is this is more for bake lighting, but I should do it anyways. Let's create a volume. I want to get a light mass importance volume. Drag this into my scene. And I want to make the bounds of this volume encompass my entire scene here. So everything that's visible in my geometry. So I want to make this really big. Let's try a value like 20,000. That's still not even big enough. Or is it? Is it going through the ground? Still hard to tell. So my scene here is massive, like maybe way too big. But we'll continue.
Maybe that's why I never did was that scene like that huge.
Maybe, who knows? Let's copy this, Control C, Control V, Enter, and let's get some height on this. Let's go 2,000. Can I see it? It's still not quite tall enough. So you can see the values here. These are centimeters, I believe, right? So even my scene's not that big, but it's pretty big. Just bring this down. Let me look at this from the top. Oops, that's too big. Can I not tumble or drag?
It's like
Top view?
it's different from
okay. I see. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my light mass importance volume, and so what this does, it tells the engine, okay, because game engines are trying to be optimized. It tells the game engine where to place the most priority, or where to do most calculations for the bouncing lights for baking the lighting. So let's go from front. So we want to make this light mass importance volume to basically tell the engine, instead of concentrating all the bounce lighting kind of calculations throughout my whole entire scene, just focus on this one box. So we can optimize things to try to get it performing better. Press W here, just move this up and over a little bit. And we'll just reduce the vertical height a little bit more to get that a little tighter. And same thing here. I don't know what that's doing. Same thing here. And move this over a little bit. Okay. See from the side. So there's a quad view. Do you know how to bring up the quad view? Is it this one? No. You should know. No?
it's like the one.
This one here? You know. What? Okay. Nice. Okay, so we have that, and set one views to perspective, we'll just go back. Okay, perfect. Okay, so learning's happening. Awesome. All right, so we have this. We don't know why our light baking is not working. We'll try one more time. And hopefully the light mass importance volume helps us a little bit. Let's bake. Let's change our light, first of all, directional light to a either static or stationary light. We want stationary here. Build it. Hopefully we have some luck. And what? What's the same? What? No, it's not. Okay, so something happened. Sometimes when this doesn't work, what I'll do is like crank this to an absurdly high value, and then try it again. And let's see what happens. Build. So this is a bit of a rabbit hole. I don't want to get too bogged down with this. And it's not working. It's still not working. Very strange. Okay, so I will change this back to 100. So it's definitely not the power of the light.
If you try to add like a point or something.
Yeah, I'll try that. I'll try.
It's just weird, but I'm just wondering if there's an issue with lighting.
Could be because it's lighting up this guy, but it's not lighting up the ground. So it's lighting up the character, but not the ground. And this value might even be high, because that character is supposed to be dark, not light. Yeah. So go for removable light for now. And something's going on with this geometry, this grounded geometry. I've done something to it, or haven't done something to it, and that's causing the problem. Lighting overridden light map res. Could be that the thing is so large that the light map resolution is not sufficient. It could be that. So let's try like a higher value here, 1024. This is me going into troubleshooting mode, and I know we're not making progress really, but let's see what that looks like. Let's try building it. Oh, wait, so this is not gonna stop my build because I have to change my light back to a my light. Is it still going? Change it to a stationary light. So now that my ground has a larger light map, hopefully this will work because it's so massive. So it could be that built.
Yeah, it could be something with the light.
Because I was trying to use a 64. So it could just be that the resolution wasn't sufficient, and then the shadows became all-encompassing and blurred out everything. Let's see. It's nice when things work out. You figure it out. And let's see. No change? Huh, still doesn't work. Okay, so it's definitely some other issue.
But yeah, it's something with the mesh because the vector is very so.
Yeah, I wonder if the mesh is upside down. If the normals are. There's a back face culling issue. Which is a material issue. I believe two-sided. Could be that. Save. Default lit shading model. No, this is alright. Use material attributes. Subsurface, no. Screen space, contact shadows. Yeah, so this should all work. I mean, could just be that it's upside down. I would explain it. Oh, that was wrong. I should have done it on the ground, not the character. Oops. There we go. Save. I didn't. You should make it on its own.
It was checked maybe, but yeah, you imported the two things together. Right?
Maybe, I don't know. It could be that. It could be that. Because I know I've had problems with bringing in light maps from Blender before.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and build here. Let's see. Cross our fingers.
Maybe try to see the map in the.
Hmm?
Like in the chat double click and the see the UV. Yeah. This is.
So no UVs.
Okay. Yeah,
Could it be that?
that's-
Maybe there's
oh,
no,
yeah,
UV,
there's
no
no
UVs. I thought I had made UVs. No? So won't it generate UVs? Oh, it probably
No, it won't like there's an option to generate the
when I import it.
the light map, but you need it to be like you need UVs.
I need UVs to begin with. I see. Okay, so we'll try one other thing.
Like maybe we can import it or something.
And yeah, let's do that. So I wonder if it's because I opened it and exported from 2.8 and last time I was working in 2.79 of Blender. It could be that. Who knows? So don't you remember last week? The last time I did the UVs. I'm pretty sure. We applied the texture. Anyways, let's see here. UV editor. No, okay, so no UVs. I definitely did a UV unwrapper. I may or may not have saved it. So I'll just save that. Save as Desert World 2.8. Okay, and I'll export this. Just the mesh here, file, export FBX, selected objects, and color. Alright, so after all that, it's probably just the UV issue.
Yeah.
So I should have double checked my assets first. Let's see if we can't just delete that. Just delete. Import to game, and yeah, I even made a texture. I did. Okay, so ground open.
Make sure you check
Import materials.
once you create the
I think it'll
should be in this
generate
yeah,
light
okay,
map
so
UVs. Yeah, okay. Alright, so it's possible. I don't think so though, that's weird. I feel like whether you have light map, whether you have UVs or not, it should still generate light map UVs, no? Anyways, let's see. Yeah, let's see. We'll experiment. I will delete this material. Don't need it. Let's save this. I will apply this. I want to use the material. Save that. Check out our UVs. So we have, that's what I made. Okay, so it's not ideal, not nice looking, but yeah, it's should do the trick. Okay, so that was missing before. So now I can, oops, not this. drag my world into the scene. I'll just zero out the position again. Save this, build our lighting. And it should work now.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why we're getting that preview error.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it doesn't normally say preview like that, right?
Sometimes it does.
does?
But I mean, just hopefully that's it. Because if it's not, I would be so confused.
I think that works. Let's see. Give it a second. There we go. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're expecting to see, right?
Yeah.
Alright. This is what we'll be taking into account the light mass importance volume and everything like that. It's not very pretty looking, but it's okay. What are the settings I have? Constraints, mass, lighting, overridden. Okay, so it's using a small light map, or whatever the default is, I don't know. Use two-sided lighting, vertex, and city. Fully clear center, cache.
Usually for like tiling stuff and like for bigger objects, good to drag this number up a little bit.
Right, for the light map? Yeah. Indirect clash, light map type, default, force surface. Oh, maybe I could have changed this. Anyways. Dynamic shadow, static shadow, volumetric translucent, self shadow only, down, inset shadow, lighting channels. Okay, anyways, that's good enough. What would really cool is to have like more lights coming in, so some kind of environment light. Let's see if we can kind of navigate to one. So I'm going to go in here. I don't know how much this is going to be supported in mobile and stuff like that, but I will import. Let's create a new folder. HDRI, and file. Import, and I will navigate to. I think I have some. And I may or may not have stuff that I can use, but art. So I have some stuff on the cloud, but I may not have it on this machine. School rotation. I wonder if I can just randomly choose a picture. Probably won't work right. Just give this like 30 more seconds, then I'll move forward. I'm gonna go to lessons. Okay, so note to self, like make a handy folder for HDRs. Okay. Alright, so I don't have one. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring in a couple other lights. Go to my lighting tab. I'll go for a spotlight. I like spotlights. Just move this here. Again, my scene is so like enormous that a lot of this stuff won't appear. That easily. But we can put a spotlight on our character here. And just work on the parameters a little bit. Try increasing the intensity and the radius. Adjust the cone angle a little bit. Change maybe the color. Try to get some warm, cool contrast going on a little bit. Okay. And what would help a lot is to have some stuff for light to bounce off of, like some elements in the environment. So I'll just add like some really simple geometry, or sort of basic. I'll get just some primitive objects, some cubes, and just make it big. Rotate it, scale it. Hold down Alt, duplicate it. Okay, so make a few of these, place them around, make some of them like really, really big. What are my settings here? Make the scale like 1,000. And 500 and well, that's really big. 200. It's not so bad. Rotate it. Oh, it's huge. Oh, it's the location. Oops. Scale. What's that number? Go 500. Okay. And let's go 100. I can change my snapping here. If I make this. Anyways, I think that's okay. So just move it. Okay, so now this will at least give me like a bit more of a kind of something for the light to bounce off of and kind of cast a reflection on the other thing. I'm going to go back in here and create my materials. Create a new material, call this structure. Just go in there and give it a nice color. So I'm going to hit 3 here to create a vector 3. It's going to give me 3 parameters corresponding to RGB. And then I'll choose like a nice warm color to reflect the light source. And again, we will create a, these guys and set the value to say 1 and just save that. Okay, and I'll apply this to my structure. Just like this. Get height. Apply it to these guys too. So again, ideally with these simple kind of shapes, I can start putting together something a little bit more interesting. I'll zoom out again, hold down W, Alt, just duplicate this, rotate it, kind of block out my scene a little bit better. Some kind of distant mountain range. Alright, so let's go ahead and build our lighting one more time. Some of this stuff's falling outside of my light mass importance volume. I don't know if that's going to cause a problem or not. Since these are relatively simple objects, this should be fairly quick, but I'm just trying to get like those shadows less black. I want them to have like a little bit more color in them. So that did the trick. But they're still kind of harsh looking. So ideally that wouldn't be the case. But this would all be way easier if I just had like an HDRI image to use for my skylight, right? So let's see what options I actually have in my skylight. I can use a cube map, but I can also specify it. No. So without that, can I do anything interesting? Can I do a light color? Maybe. Sky distance, intensity. I don't know if this makes a difference without the cube map. Indirect light, intensity, volumetric scattering, don't need that. Effects world, yes. Visible. Capture. I don't know if that does anything, but I don't want to have this black spot on this guy either. Okay, so from here I'll just build my character, make like some really simple interaction, and then I'll go from there. Or we could potentially leave off here and then focus on the rest of it next time. I really don't like those harsh edges on my shadows. I wish those were softer. And that could be a light setting. Directional light. What are my parameters? What do I have here? Cast shadows, interact light intensities, volumetric scattering intensity, source angle, source soft angle, source angle. Can we be softer? It'll probably be way like longer to compute. Use temperature, light shafts, light shaft occlusion, bloom scale, bloom tint, distance filled shadows, retrace distance filled shadows, light source angle, saturation, shadow exponent, use shadow.
So what's the first thing might help with
Softening it?
yeah.
Give me some ambient occlusion. Yeah, it'll help, I'm sure. Max draw distance. Okay. Fade distance, light function scale. Okay, so anyways, I'll build last time. Okay, it's about 9 o'clock, guys, if you guys want to know. I'm not going to hold you guys hostage. If you want to stick with me for a little bit longer, you're welcome to do that as well. I do want to just get a little bit of kind of functionality going. Get a camera in the scene, and then maybe, I don't know, do something. Maybe see if we can control the movement of the character or something. Let's see, okay. So the light's built. Changed a little bit. anyways, it looks kind of nice. All right, so what I'm going to do is on my character, how am I going to do this? I'll end up replacing my character, so I'm going to create a blueprint. I'll call this blueprint class. I feel like I'm like not learning here by what I'm doing. So what I'll do is I will create a C++ class. I'm going to challenge myself here. So a new C++ class, and we'll go for a pawn. So a pawn is an actor that can be possessed and receive input from a controller. So this pawn we should be able to manipulate. It should have some built-in functions that allow us to basically move around the world, right? Or move. So I'm going to click pawn and go for next. I'm just wondering if this is a good idea or not. Okay, we'll go ahead and do it. My create class, yes. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to use the pawn, but I'm just going to see if I can kind of leverage blueprints a little bit with it. Because that's at this point what I'm more familiar with. Oh, and I might still have the Visual Studio Pro problem. Let's see. So I'm going to call it quits probably in like a few minutes here. You have to go. You have to go. Okay. I'll see you next week. Okay. Take care. But keep going. It sounds like you're making some progress. Hopefully this helps. Seeing what works and what doesn't work. But yeah. Next week we'll probably dig into this a little bit more. So I'll probably have to lean on you for the coding stuff. Okay. And we'll figure it out together. Okay. All right. Cool. Take care. All right, so, all right. So this is what I have, and it's including these files. So mypawn.generated.h. So this is my header file. I should have a CPP file as well. Cannot open. So I'm still having some problems, it looks like. If I go to source, config, references. Before you go, do you know where I'm going to find all my stuff? Like all my source? It should be in source, right? Yeah. It should be in here, right? So, source, okay. So where's my header file? Yep. Oh, so here's my, okay, it's all in here. Okay, I see. Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks. See you later. All right, so I have my Gladiotron Chapter 1 CPP, and then Chapter 1.h. This is all like gibberish to you. That's all right. And mypawn.cpp. So this is my actual blueprint class that I just created. So I have mypawn.h and mypawn.cpp. So mypawn.h is my header file, which basically is responsible for all my, I believe, declarations of all my classes, all the different functionality that's going to exist. And this is all the kind of these here, all these include files, those are all the dependencies, so all the things that it relies upon. So basically, like, this would be like the equivalent of like a 3D, an asset creation. This is, let's say, look at this texture file, or look at this other file, and load all that stuff in because we're going to use it for something. So it's referencing these other files that I have to pull in. So each class in C++ has both a header file, so which is this .h file, so the name of the class .h. It also has the name of the file .cpp. So they work in conjunction. So basically, it's kind of tricky to wrap your head around it first, but in your header file, you basically say these are all the functions that I'm going to use. You declare all your functions, and then in your CPP file, you define the functions. So basically, this is where I would basically get my code. But if I want to make a new function, I would have to declare it, both declare it in my header file, and then also define it in my CPP file. So if you're familiar with Unity at all this stuff here in begin play, in Unity it has like a start block of code, which is a function. So anything within these curly brackets here, braces, that happens at the very start. When the game starts, this code is instantiated, it loads. And then the way games work, they have another thing which is on the ticks, like so the update. So it redraws every frame. Right, so we get 60 frames per second, redrawing, 60 frames per second, you know, 120. So we have this tick, which basically every time the calculations are done, it checks this again. So this is if our character is moving, we say, has the character moved a little bit? Yes, update their position. They move a little more, update their position. Check every frame, check to see if I press a button to make the character jump. So that's kind of where that will go. So this is where you would like instantiate everything, like say set the timer to 0 or give the character this much health. And then in here you would say check to see if you got hit, and if you did, subtract 1 off, something like that. So anyways, and then add all those things. But basically what I would want to do, two things. I want to look at what's available to me. So the way I would do that is I have to go into my pawn.generated.h, which is I think, it looks like I had a problem creating that file, but in there I should have access to all the things I can call in here. So that's normally where I would write my code. So I would want to make a float. So also that I have to declare in my header file any variable. I don't know if it would be public or protected. Maybe protected. And I can make this. And I don't remember. The syntax that I need to use. So this is good for me to learn what I don't know. But there's something that you can use in Unity. I know it's called serialized field, and basically it says expose this to me in the editor. So I can just punch in a value, and it'll work. So basically, anyways, what I'll do without knowing that, I can say in my header file, I will create a float, and I'll call it. So a float is basically a decimal number. So like 1.1 or, you know, so this is perfect for like a value for like speed, for example. So for my character speed, I can set that to a float of like 5. But then I can always change it to 4.9 or, you know, whatever. So it can be variable, right? So I can say float, and give it a descriptive name, character. Character speed. And I don't even need to do anything more than that. I'll just declare it, finish declaring it by putting a semicolon that says this is the end of the statement. That's like the period in coding. It's like the end of this kind of thing. So you'll notice this already has a semicolon on it after, you know.
And do you need to put like the minimum maximum speed, or like how do you define that? Like the range?
That's up to me. So if I wanted to have that, then I would say float max speed, and then float min speed. It's totally up to me. And then anything that you think you might need in your game, you would declare here. So maybe like float, or sorry. So if you have like something like number of health or number of lives, that would be an int. So for integer, so integer is 1, 2, 3. It can only be a whole number, right? It can be negative as well. But you can make an unsigned int, which is an unsigned integer, which basically has no negative sign, can't have a sign on it. Which means this is always a positive value. It's either 0 or a positive value. But in our case, we'll just go int, int. This is no matter what programming language you use, this is going to be the case. Int, float, types, like data types, that's going to be consistent no matter what programming language you use. Some of the other stuff is going to be program specific, but you'll find that other programming languages are going to use similar structure. They'll be structured in a similar way. They don't all need to have two separate files, like a header file and a CPP file. Usually it's just one. You don't have to do both, but for whatever reason, C++ is like that. So
it's like jumping from one 3D software to
exactly. Yeah, everyone's gonna have its idiosyncrasies in the way it does things. So int lives, for example. Before I do any of this, I should figure out what kind of interaction I want, right? We haven't determined that. But we should kind of figure out what kind of control do we want to have. I imagine something simple, if we wanted to do something simple like the example I showed before, it would basically just be the character moving through the scene, maybe the camera moving with the character. But that's easy enough to do, I think. I know how to do it in blueprints. I have no idea how to do it in code, actually, now that I think about it. So I wonder if there's a type camera. So this is what I found with coding. Actor. Oh, wait, I need to do a U actor component. U actor. What else I have? U actor. So programming is a bunch of hidden menus with like millions of options, right? Especially in like a program like on Unreal or Unity, where all these libraries of like specific functionality have already been created, and you don't know what they are, but they'll be useful for what you want to do, but you don't know the word. It's almost like having like enough vocabulary, right? So what programmers have to do, so they like start getting familiar and comfortable with the things they're doing over and over again, is look at documentation. So U actor move or camera. So I want to add a camera to this. So I want to add a camera to this thing. So Unreal camera C++. That looks interesting. Learn C++ in Unreal by making a powerful camera. Maybe we should go through a tutorial. Unreal C++ CPP. Okay. Okay, so I want to add a camera. Add camera to C++. Attaching a camera to pawn at runtime. Okay, so let's look at the Unreal documentation. See what this tells us. Okay, so I make a basic project. So this is what it is, U property, that's what I wanted. So U property, if you put that before your code, you can edit that in the engine We'll use these variables to create a spring arm and the camera component attached to the end. Include how to player camera.h. Interesting. Pawn with camera. Oh, there's a pawn with camera. Wait. Okay, so. Okay, so this is what they named their project. So it's bringing that in. Okay. We should open pawn with camera and the following code protected. Okay, so they've made a pawn here. Okay, so make a basic code project with starter content named to how to player camera. Okay, we want to create a custom pawn class, which is the first. We'll name the class pawn with camera. So in my case, I've named it just something else. What did I name it? I named it my pawn. Okay, so I just took the default name, and okay, so now they're telling us to add this to the protected U property. So in the camera.h, so just like I've been doing, they want us to do that. So I'm going to duplicate this. Just pull this over here so I can easily reference. You won't be able to see it on the video, but I can look at it and source. Remove it if you got it on there. Cool. So in protected, in the header file, they're saying create U property. So again, this is not actually making anything. This is just telling the engine that whatever comes after this, I will be able to do something with it. So edit anywhere. Okay, and then I don't need a semicolon after that, but now I'm going to have to create a class. Use spring. Use spring arm. So a spring arm component is basically telling it how far this camera is kind of staying away from something. So the spring arm will be there, and it'll be attached to my character, and then the camera will be at the end of it. So I've done this in blueprints, but I haven't done this in C++ code. Using spring arm component, and I have to put a star. That's basically saying this is a pointer. So what does that mean? The pointer is basically, it's not an actual thing, or it's basically pointing to a location in the computer's memory. Like, so it's saying this asset is stored in this place in your computer's memory. So instead of opening it, loading it, and then moving it somewhere else, just reference it at its location. So it's more performant, it's faster. So our camera, so I'm giving it a name now. So I'm basically, just like I've created these variables, so float, max, speed, what I'm making here is a more complex variable. I'm giving it a name, so this name is totally arbitrary. I'm calling it our camera spring arm, semicolon, and the data type. So instead of being a float or an int, it's a spring arm component. So that's its type. It's that kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense. So the next one, I'm going to do another one. This one will be the actual camera. So it'll be class. So this is stuff that, this is custom to Unreal. This is a custom data type that they've created. It's part of the library of code that they've made. So I'm accessing this through these header files. So this kind of stuff, it's included in there somewhere. So that's the only reason I can get it. So this one's going to be called camera component. View camera component pointer. And I'll just use the name they've given me here, but this is, again, arbitrary. So the first part here, class uCamera component pointer, I can't change that. That has to be that, because that's telling it this is the data type, which is a complex data type that the developers of Unreal have made, which describes a camera. It makes a camera. So that's how the camera system is probably super complex. But I can say, make a camera and call it this. So it's basically the same as if I dragged the camera into my scene and gave it a name, to some degree. Call this our camera, semicolon, and yeah, so that's that. I'm going to stop here because it's going to probably take an hour at least to take this further, but we'll pick up where we left off next week if I don't make more progress in between, and just continue with this development. I only have like about 2 or 3 more weeks to get this to a stage where I have an actual something playable or tangible. So I may have to kind of like plug away at this between sessions. So yeah, so that's that. Nothing super new for you, except for it's coding stuff, I guess. I don't know how much of it you're able to take in, but
it's good to understand it. Like, I know I'll forget this right away.
Yeah,
it's good to see how it works.
Yeah, and then it's good to kind of get a peek behind, the inner workings of the tools and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm committed to just getting good with this stuff. So as much as it's painful and struggle to go through it now, it pays off in the long run. So and I'm also happy to share what I know because I'm not super beginner. I'm super beginner with Unreal Code, but I have a basic understanding of what they're doing, why they're doing it. So I can at least help people who have an interest in learning code with that, right? So, and then with Arnie here, she can help us even more. So yeah, so let's wrap here. Thanks, Mahmood. Arnie already left, and thanks to anybody who watched. And there will be more. Okay, take care. Bye.